It's Brooklyn Versus, and I'm Stephen James, and tonight we're talking the gifted gabbers in sports broadcasting. So as always, like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get the debate going.
Go Bridgeside!
Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. It is Brooklyn Versus. I'm Stephen James. Welcome to the panel. We've got Dr. Phil. We got Donnie here, and tonight it's sports broadcasters. Gentlemen, welcome.
How you doing, man?
It's nice to sit on this chair today.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a little comfortable. I like it. It's a little bouncy. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you got
So, sports broadcasters, they're a huge part of everything that we do, everything that we watch. But in order to get to the best, which we will a little bit later, we got to start at the bottom. So who are some of your worst broadcasters in sports?
Well, we were just talking, the thing about worst broadcasters, sometimes you just forget they even existed as broadcasters. They were so bad. And one guy I'm going to think we were mentioning was Dennis Miller. Had
Yes.
a foray into Monday night, not even broadcasting, but Monday Night Football.
One of the flagship
pinnacle
shows.
of the position.
The flagship position. And it was just 1 year, I believe, right?
It was a couple of years because they did the
he does
experiment
multiple years.
where they wanted to bring in the comedian, and it was just bad, poor, out-of-date references, just awkward humor. It was bad.
The funniest thing is I think he's actually one of the best comedians of all time. Absolutely.
Wow.
But if you listen to his albums, older albums, great. But yeah, that was an awful experiment.
Yeah, it was.
This is terrible.
I always remember the first game he did because they were worried that he might curse.
Yeah.
So they were saying that he needed like a 5-second delay. And I remember it was the Rams. It was the first. I think it was the greatest show on turf. And I just remember a clip of like Falk running into a touchdown, and he was like, "You guys thought I was going to say an F word. I think the only F word I'm going to say is Falk."
I'm surprised they didn't
remember
hit
that line.
They hit the 5-second delay on him.
That was
That'd be funny.
his best line of
Of his entire career there.
Hasn't.
Who else has been the worst? Another experiment they had Tony Kornheiser, as you know from PTI.
right, yeah.
He did
Yeah.
Monday
See,
Night
another
Football.
one. See,
Wasn't
It was
very
around
good
that
either.
same time, actually,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, awful, just very monotone, terrible. I'm going to go with the current Monday Night Football crew. I mean, they're bizarrely terrible. Jason Witten I can stand, but he's boring as hell. Tessitore's terrible.
I like the play-by-play. He brings some energy.
Tessitore's terrible.
Okay.
And Booger McFarlane is maybe the worst addition
not a
since
fan
Dennis
either.
Miller.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Especially
fan
him
of
sitting on the cherry picker outside, just destroying somebody's seat at $350 a seat up down there. So I don't understand what they're doing with that. It's a terrible, terrible experiment.
I like the play-by-play guy. I think he brings a lot of energy. I mean, you did compare Booger Fallon to Dennis Miller, so as we said, that is...
No, the
lowest
addition of
of the
that
low.
position.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because I was going to say that
Sitting
is some
outside
bad,
on the cherry
that is some
picker, yeah.
bad company.
I'm not a big fan of the 3-man, multi-man booths.
Okay.
Having multiple people outside like correspondence is great, but anything past 2 guys,
Right.
not a big fan of.
It's tough to juggle it. We're going to get into some that do well with 3-man booth, but I agree with you. I think 2-man booth is the...
Play-by-play, color commentary. Honestly, your color commentary should generally be in the best role would be a former athlete, guys who, and we'll get to that a little bit later, best athletes turned analysts, we'll get to that. But who's another worst for you?
You want to go athlete, too. He was an athlete, I think, and then he was another flagship Sunday Night Baseball. Joe Morgan, I'm sorry.
Not
He
a
was
fan.
boring.
Wasn't that good.
Just boring.
Yeah, we're going into baseball. He was boring. He made mistakes.
He would call the wrong things,
Yeah,
fumble his
it was
words.
just-
Don't get me wrong, I do the job professionally myself. It's not an easy job, but at that level, the certain kind of calls, you have to be articulate. You have to be able to talk. A guy like Bill Walton sounds like he's calling things with a mouthful of marbles and pudding and potatoes. Not a fan.
Reggie
Great
Miller's
player.
a complete bore. I can't stand him. And I loved him as a player. Loved him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ice in his veins.
Yeah, didn't like listening to him do a game. And he usually had a good crew around him too, though,
Yeah.
which is
He knows
pick
his
it up.
stuff, but
Yeah.
sometimes just knowing your stuff isn't enough.
Isn't enough, especially you have to have a personality, a voice, something to you. A lot of the guys that you mentioned, you're like, they're monotone. I can't do it. Some guys that works for if you have a balance. Like the Jason Witten thing, that's why I don't mind it so much, because Jason Witten is so boring.
Yeah, big time, yeah.
I'll bring in one guy I'll mention, and to me, he's so bad he's good.
Oh, that
But,
never works.
But he is bad. It's John Sterling. This is coming from a local flavor.
Okay.
No, he's just terrible. He's not so
radio.
bad. He's good.
No. We talk about, okay, he's not a bore. I'll give him that.
It's not a bore.
But no. It's way too many mistakes. Like I can remember his mistakes so well. Like I think it was a couple of years ago. They were playing in Texas, and someone hit one to the upper deck, and he said, "And that ball's gone into the upper deck of Tiger Stadium." One, they were in Texas.
Yeah.
Two, there's no more Tiger Stadium. So he was in the wrong city and the wrong era of baseball.
At least he didn't say like Three Rivers.
I know. I don't know how he. I don't know.
But
how
I did find somebody that was worse though.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Susan Waldman.
I loathe her. I'm sorry.
Terrible.
She's bad. I'm sorry.
There are great.
Oh my God!
It's
The
just some
worst
people's
thing I've ever
voices
heard in my life.
are just
Yeah.
like grating.
That's
cheese.
that's baseball,
Terrible.
Susan.
Baseball has another one that he's probably the most unpopular when you ask most people, the one who gets on your nerves the most. And he also does multiple sports, but for me, baseball is where he gets the most annoying. Joe Buck.
Yeah, Joe Buck I think I'm here nor there. I don't despise him like a lot of people do, but he shouldn't be getting the big assignments that he's getting. In my opinion, he's getting because of Jack Buck, who was his father, a great
radio guy.
I think he's good at what he does, Joe Buck. I wouldn't say he's the best because I know he's the top man and for Fox.
You want to talk about
but I
zero
think he's
emotion?
good. I think he's good.
Ugh.
I think that's what but I think that's his. That's what he just wants to give you the facts with no emotion and let the color guy come in and do it.
I disagree.
It's tough with a play-by-play guy. You got to make sure not to step on the color
sure.
guy's toes, and the vice versa. The color guy has to allow you to call the play.
There are certain things that, like a strike three, where don't say anything. Or
Let
like
me call the strike three,
for me,
and then you
for a
and
pin.
then you jump in and give the analysis.
But Joe Buck, a lot of times, he is very biased and comes across bias with some teams and some players. If he feels like there was a personal slight, it's been said before. And I'm just not as big. I'm not the biggest fan of his.
As a New York guy and a Yankee guy, I used to say the same thing. Oh, he has a bias. I've listened to him more. I don't think he has a bias. I probably just wanted to believe that he did, you know? I don't think he does. I would agree why I say he's not the best, because I do think there are times where he's too monotone.
Too monotone.
Like, and I'm a Giant fan. I remember him calling the play where Tyreek caught the ball on his helmet, and if you just listen to Buck, it sounded like it was the first quarter of a Week 3 game.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a problem. I
No
agree.
life.
So you shouldn't be completely monotone.
And
I think he tried to come away from that. When he hit the home runs in the World Series, when he tried to
he tried to emulate his father's
call.
call. I get it with the freeze home run, right? That was it. Yeah, this is the World Series. They should have lost terribly. But I'll give you another honorable mention for a player turned booth guy that just didn't really work. Trent Green. I don't remember a single thing that he's ever said.
Nope.
So I can't say anything.
Nope.
Because I don't remember a word that he's ever said.
Yeah, we'll move on with best analysts, best athletes turned analysts. But last one of the worst, in my opinion, is a guy by the name of Tim McCarver. He's one of the smartest guys in baseball, but he talks to everybody like they're dumb.
I agree with you.
He'll be like,
That is the rap.
Captain Obvious.
If the batter swings 3 times and misses, it's a strikeout. It's like, we get it, Tim. It's okay. But moving on to best athletes turned analysts. Who are some of your favorites?
Well, let Donnie start this one, because I think you have
If it's an athlete turned best analyst, you mean, correct?
Yeah, an athlete turned
I mean,
analyst.
best athletes. Usually good athletes don't do that. I see
Very
few.
rare.
Like A-Rod might be a good one because he's
great.
actually a great analyst, and he was a phenomenal player, obviously. Unlike Frank Thomas, who should have actually gone in the worst category. Sorry, I forgot about that. Okay, so I actually do like McCarver. We had this argument earlier.
All right.
I think he's just Buck and McCarver are actually a great team, and I despise Buck, which makes you know what I think about McCarver. I actually just think that together, I think they were very good.
That's a nightmare for me.
But I can't stand Buck and Aikman though, because I can't stand either of them. Yeah, but again. We went to that point already.
Personality, you talk about guys who understand the game, guys who are engaging, know what they're doing. Yeah, absolutely.
Great personalities and analysts. Yep.
I completely agree with you on that one. Well, I'm going to go to a current guy, pretty new, Tony Romo.
Who would have thought?
I think Romo is
he's great.
fantastic. He's one of the best. Like when I listen to him call game, I wonder how he's not the defensive coordinator for the NFL teams, because but he's so good of knowing exactly, of just diving into the game, getting inside the most of the quarterbacks. Obviously, he was a quarterback, but diving inside the quarterback's head and being able to tell you, what the quarterback's thinking with his audibles when he sees this defense. What might he do? And
he'll read a defense before the snap,
and he's correct so many.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, he's correct, which is remarkable. Like, it makes me think that Peyton would be a phenomenal announcer, broadcaster.
I know. I think he sounds too stupid, but
he's not. Peyton Manning.
I think he sounds too stuck up.
Maybe
I don't know. I'll go with my assessment.
Maybe he want to come off as likable, let's say, as Romo. But for a guy, if you want a guy calling plays, I don't think anyone would be better at breaking something down than Manning. Like, he does a little bit of that detail thing. I don't know if you've seen on ESPN where they throw like quarterback, and he's great. Like, but that's more breaking down film, and that's where Manning would really
excel.
Exactly.
And as a personality, I mean, look, he's obviously thrived.
Yeah.
Because you see all the work he did. I mean, probably the best highlight of the pregame on the Super Bowl was that
John Malkovich.
Oh my God,
Malkovich
is.
It's great. I love Malkovich. I'm sorry.
You're a Super Bowl winner. You should say 2 times. But I said it just sounds better.
Do you think Eli edited that? he edited that. He was like, "We got to make sure that gets in there." That would be a terrible booth. You get Peyton who's super high energy and who would know everything, and then Eli who would just be the monotone guy.
Be like Joe
I honestly think in a booth that neither of them would be that good. That's just my opinion.
They wouldn't.
Yeah.
No. They're better on commercials because they have,
what I'm saying.
they have a sense of
Manning
humor.
can act because
money.
But the reason is that and this goes against what you said earlier though, is because I think Manning's actually such a stiff that you putting him in that funny acting role works for that reason.
Okay.
Because he's a stiff, that's what makes him funny.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. And look, there are plenty of guys that, like you said, are great athletes you think would be a great transition to the booth, and then dud.
Like Ray Lewis.
Yeah, you talk about good ones. Good ones. You mentioned A-Rod. A-Rod, I think, has done a great job. I mentioned Romo. I think A-Rod has done a great job.
What about
pre-game? He's awesome, and as well as Sunday Night Baseball.
What about Terry Bradshaw? He's been doing it for years at this point. I enjoyed Terry Bradshaw.
Absolutely.
I like him as a pre-game guy. I don't know during a game.
I don't think he'd be able to call.
No.
I don't know.
I think we're extending it a little bit.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm going to throw in Barkley then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
terrible. Barkley's great.
Barkley is one of the best pre-game guys in any sport ever.
I agree.
He redefined what that position was because he's so goddamn honest. That's what he's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not
know,
everybody could do it either.
You know who I think is in basketball now, and you said honest, who with ex-players / coaches, I'm going to say, is the team of Van Gundy and Mark Jackson.
Yeah,
fantastic.
great
I
team.
think they're both great.
Mark Jackson, very underrated.
Mark Jackson's awesome. And I think Van Gundy, talk about honest, Van Gundy's actually been fined by the NBA for some of the things he said when he's attacked or criticized the refs. So you like that in an announcer, like you said with odds. You want that honesty because that's the analysis that's really going to come out.
And I mean, if you want to talk about a tale of two cities, I mean, his brother, who I despise.
Oh, really?
That fat bastard. Yeah, he's as a coach. I don't know. He just seems like a mean guy.
Coach,
no, he's an okay coach. Let's pump the brakes on that.
He makes Rex Ryan likable.
And he's terrible. He does pregame now, and he's terrible. Oh my Lord.
Well, the pregame NBA isn't that good. The announcers are good.
I mean, if you're going
Ernie
back...
Johnson is great.
I take that back.
The TNT crew is amazing.
You're right. I take that back. TNT's the reverse. The
Kenny the Jet, I loved it.
And Shaq works really well with them,
Shaq
too.
was a great addition.
Ernie's awesome. Ernie Johnson could do it all, I think.
Other great notable ones, if we move on to hockey, Eddie Olczyk, a local Stanley Cup champion, another guy. Dandy Don Meredith did it for years, former Cowboys quarterback, did it for years. There's been a lot. It's the best way, I think. They excel more at color commentary than they do play-by-play.
It's a much faster game, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because they're there breaking everything down.
Absolutely.
Emmerich's that voice that you just hear in every hockey game ever. Every hockey game ever.
Emmerich's great, Dr. Emmerich.
One of my favorites.
One of the best in all sports.
I agree.
So speaking of some of the best, let's go to tandems. Let's go to the best booths of all time. So 2-man, 3-man, 4-man, however many man or woman involved.
Hey,
so
we'll find many of those.
What are some of your favorite tandems, your booth? Number one booths.
Well, I'm going to bring in some booths. You mentioned you mentioned the Mets before, so
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it to
Yeah,
I think,
that's
and
the
I'm
current Mets,
as a
yep.
Yankee fan, but I think that Cohen, Hernandez, and Darling really is a great booth.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
They,
For sure.
I think they have Cohen's a really good play-by-play, and it works well. We said that two-man booth's usually the best, but the three-man booth really works well, and I think that flows together. Hernandez with humor and everything like that, and I think that.
And all with great knowledge of the game.
That's
though.
what
All
I'm saying.
three, yeah.
And Darling's knowledge really, I think Darling's. If I had to pick the better of all, then I think Darling's really great. He's really knowledgeable as coming from the pitching point of view, and then he also has, he's been on TBS and national broadcast.
He's also like
Baseball's
an
the
Ivy
hard-
Leaguer, too, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Baseball's
you're
one
right.
of the hardest sports, I think, to call for a different reason than hockey is a different kind of difficulty. Hockey is constant action. Baseball, you have a lot
keep
to
the
fill in.
attention,
yeah.
You have a lot of moments in between to keep, because it's naturally a slower game. A great group for hockey, Doc Emmerich and Eddie Olczyk. We mentioned both of them before. NBC, killing it with that. That's Sam Rosen and JD, one of the greatest calls of all time. Meto, all of that. Great.
But Donnie mentioned one of the greatest of all time before we go in.
What's that? Madden and Summerall. Yeah,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's just
Yeah.
a flagship.
When anyone thinks football, number one, that's immediately what comes to my mind.
Absolutely.
And that's what you were talking about in terms of monotone voices worked. In this case, Pat Summerall
had the greatest monotone voice, and that's
ever.
a monotone voice. It's the greatest I've ever heard.
because he had to bounce off of a guy with limitless energy like John Madden, who's all over the place out there. It worked. That when they replaced him in the games is when I was really upset.
Yeah, they had to though. You
I
weren't
know,
doing it
I
anymore.
know, I know. It's upset. I'm going to go outside of the box a little bit and go to my world, the world of professional wrestling. Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler.
Well, that's the classic. You'd never top that. I don't believe ever.
My favorite is Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. That's my
Bobby
favorite.
Heenan was great.
I'm talking
Vince
about-
McMahon
yeah.
was good at it too.
He was
a good
ridiculous, but
play-by-play
yeah,
guy
for sure.
He kind of worked with. Didn't he work with Jesse the Body a little
with
bit?
Jesse the
He
Body.
did work with the King.
Worked
and
with
Ross.
everybody.
I mean, one of the
Pat
greatest.
Patterson. Who are the guys
One
that
of
he
the
worked with
greatest
very early?
calls of all time in all
And
sports.
being the boss
Yeah.
at the same time. Running an entire company in a show while doing play-by-play. Incredible.
I think one of the greatest calls of all time, and regardless of sports, is when Mankind gets thrown off the cage. my God, they damn near killed him. That's a great call.
He gets so involved and
Yeah.
so amped up for sure. What are some other booths? Favorite booths?
And you're gonna have to help me out with this one though. Mike Breen. I'm trying. Who does he work with currently?
Walt Clyde Frazier.
Yeah, Walt
on
Clyde
NBC,
Frazier.
and on,
Yeah.
Which a lot of
I'm
people
sorry,
don't like.
MSG.
Yes.
And then when he does national games, it's Breen, Van Gundy, and
That's right.
Mark Jackson.
Yeah, that to me is the
So
best. Is
Breen's
the best
Knicks
booth in
guy, yeah, and
basketball.
they're the top. They do the finals.
Yes.
They're the number one
Yeah.
thing. I think that's a great booth.
So
But
Van
Breen,
Gundy, Jackson, and Breen. Yeah, absolutely.
Breen, Van
But
Gundy.
we didn't mention Breen earlier though, and I wanted to make sure though
Breen's
because
great.
he's the voice of that crew.
He's the
other
voice of
guys
the
do
NBA right
analysis.
now.
Yeah.
I think Michaels and whoever he was with
yeah.
was always a good booth. I think
Jim
Michaels
Palmer
was
was one, too.
He talked about when he was doing
Yeah.
baseball. Then he was the Monday Night Crew for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
revolving door, whether it be Dennis Miller and Dan Fouts.
I don't want to talk about that.
And then Madden came, and then it was Michaels and Madden. That was a great.
Which was
team.
it was strange though at first because
Not
you're
hearing
so
Summerall.
used to Summerall.
But
it took
if
it
there
took
was
a bit.
anyone that could have took Summerall's place, it
Oh,
was
for sure.
Michaels. And then you had Michaels and now Michaels and Collinsworth now is also a very good team.
And we also have to mention, I mean, Jim Nance was with a couple of good booths now, including Romo.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, he's had a lot of good runs. I mean,
Very
he's just been
underrated.
phenomenal for his career. Yeah.
Vern Lundquist, another guy, very
Yes.
underrated as well.
We got to mention Bob Costas too.
Oh, yeah.
Bob
In
Costas,
the house. Bob
absolutely.
Costas.
But you made an
he
excellent
also
point.
did some things with Nance as well for a while. Yeah.
You guys were making excellent points about Bob Costas. He's better, or you prefer him when he's doing
A piece.
or
Yeah,
a
he's great on
package
a
as
piece.
opposed to
Yeah.
Well,
calling
he used to have
things.
his own show, like whether
sure,
it be
yeah.
later with Bob Costas, the Bob Costas show, whatever, maybe, and there's MLB Network. You know, and he adores baseball. It's like really
Yeah.
when he talks baseball,
Americana,
he knows so
yeah.
much about it. It
Yeah.
really is unbelievable
Which,
to listen to him.
it's funny, I have to mention this because it's very much relevant. Right now I'm going through Ken Burns baseball.
Which
so
is
I just,
amazing.
I just did the third inning.
Oh, nice.
And Costas has a nice little piece in that where, you know, they segment him throughout it. I mean, it's great, just great commentary.
We were talking about NFL films before. John, I can't remember.
Facenda,
yeah.
Facenda, one of the greatest voices ever.
He
Yep,
makes
unbelievable.
football sound like a war movie. He makes everything important. Everyone knows that voice. When you hear it, you're watching NFL films. That's one
that
of the first
music sprinkled in.
Exactly. And Mel Allen, you
It's
mentioned.
like a war and poetry. Phil Rizzuto.
Phil Rizzuto.
Yeah.
Phil Rizzuto. You know the song "Paradise by the Dashboard Lights"
Yeah.
with Meatloaf. They have Phil Rizzuto's in the song.
He's in the song?
Yeah, because it's talking about him, as Meatloaf is rounding the proverbial.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's Phil? Oh,
That's
man.
Phil.
That's
but
awesome.
when they play that song in Boston, they switch it.
Oh, that.
They don't want Phil's voice to be on. They used to play the Boston. I don't even know who it was, but
That's
it was Phil Rizzuto.
That's petty.
Holy
That's
cow!
petty.
Phil Rizzuto was great.
And just for just going, if we're gonna go that old school though, Keith Jackson for college football.
Okay.
He had the softest voice I'd ever heard for an announcer, but he was just that popular for so many years. He did it for like 50 years or something.
Can I go the opposite of a soft voice? And Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson is the best that they
Phenomenal,
they have now.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
phenomenal,
Yeah.
and because
A guy who should be more known than he is.
pumps
He also does
excitement.
everything.
You talk about how we mentioned the criticism of Joe Buck, how it was a great play the Super Bowl, and he kind of toned it down. Talk about a guy who pumps excitement to anything. Gus
Anything.
Johnson.
He understands the big moment better than anybody. He knows that something is coming. It's this innate feel that I think he has, that he knows something big is going to happen.
Yeah.
Another guy who had that ability, Marv Albert.
Wow,
Marv Albert, absolutely.
And his son Kenny is not half bad
Kenny's
either.
great.
Oh yeah,
Kenny's great,
for sure.
especially with hockey. But
Oh, yeah.
he does basketball too. He does a lot of different. Kenny is really good.
I have to say this, it could be debated, but Marv Albert's probably the best basketball guy ever, I'd say.
Definitely the one when I think basketball, but I'm
Yeah.
also trained because, like NBA Jam, it sounds like Marv, and plus growing up, unfortunately, as a Knicks fan.
No, but I mean, he was national though for a long time with
Yeah.
basketball
Yeah.
too, though. I mean,
For sure.
I think he's again just personal opinion. I would think he's the best ever.
Here's a guy who didn't have a booth at all, who did, honestly, the majority of his stuff by himself, was Vince Scully.
Yeah.
Vince Scully's a guy who did it mostly by himself.
He was so good that he could do both. He could
Yeah.
actually do play-by-play and color.
The whole thing.
I don't think there's any. There was no one like him. I don't think there's going to be anyone like him.
That's
could
the
do
curse.
both, yeah.
That's the curse of having the multi-man booths now, is you'll never know.
Well, since you did go into baseball a little bit, because Scully obviously known for the Dodgers, I would just like to throw in a couple of honorable mentions since
Okay.
we're going to best booths. Euchre, just phenomenal.
yeah.
If you ever watched, if you ever saw the Major League movies, which gave him his notoriety
Yeah.
nationally. But I mean,
So
been doing
much
the
better
Brewers
before.
for so long, and if you get to listen to him, it's a treat. It's those things that you don't get to hear much. Another guy who one of the only people you'll ever hear on a national ESPN clip is Ken Hawk Harrelson. He's the White Sox guy.
Oh, okay.
He got. Yeah, you can put it on the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
He gon' when they strike somebody out. I mean, that's a guy that you'll know nationally, even though he's just the White Sox guy.
Yeah.
And then I would say John Miller, who's been national, and he's also done was Baltimore and the Giants. Just another very soft voice, but it's something that you'll remember for a long time. I mean,
Knows when to ramp it up.
Oh,
when you
yeah,
need to.
he's
Yeah,
excellent.
for sure.
Yeah.
We want to know what you guys think on social media. Make sure you guys are tweeting the show, following on Instagram. Let us know. Number one. What is your number one? You have to pick two guys, any sport. Don't worry, we still have a challenge coming up in a little bit. One sport, two guys. Color, play-by-play. Who's your ultimate team?
Summerall Madden.
Summerall Madden?
Summerall Madden.
Without hesitation.
I would probably keep it at that because that was the first thing I thought about. I
Sorry,
honestly.
I don't want to take Summerall Madden.
Summerall Madden. Oh,
What about you?
I mean, if we're talking...
You said any sport?
Any sport. I would say Doc Emmerich and probably Bobby Heenan. And I would watch them
Wait,
call.
what?
I would mix it all
No,
up.
yeah,
I
he's
didn't
going
say
in
you
a lot
could
of
say
You
that.
can mix it up.
Yeah.
Any sport,
You
anything.
can-
Your dream team.
What are you
Doc
talking?
Emmerich
I'm
and
going
Bobby
with
Heenan?
Marv Albert and Andrew Jackson, the President of the United States. What are you talking about? This is the worst thing I've ever
Bob
heard.
Costas and Jerry the King.
All right, so we'll go through the sports. Baseball. Dream team.
Baseball dream team. It probably might just be Vince Scully.
Just Vince
Being
Scully
honest.
alone. Okay.
I'd really have to think about that. If I was just going to go baseball, yeah, I'll just say I'll go Miller and Euchre.
Wow.
Because you have
Yeah.
just like, there's the best of both, I'll say.
I would take Ralph Kiner, who...
Oh, Kiner's good. That's a good
I like
one.
Kiner.
Amazing. And actually, even though I hated him for most of my life until I went back, Bob Murphy Bob Murphy
Yeah,
used
Bob
to do
Murphy was
Mets,
a great
Mets
voice.
radios.
Yeah.
Well, when he didn't cough into the mic.
But I'll say this one thing about Kiner. I love Kiner. He was a big Channel 9 guy when they were there.
Kiner's
Yeah.
corner.
But what I'll say
Smoking
this, though,
cigars and-
when
yeah.
I watched Kiner, he was very over the hill at that point. He was doing it very old, as you
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
And like it was kind of like he was very slow. He sounded, he had that great voice, but it's
Yeah.
like he was very.
It's kind of the way Rizzuto went towards the
Yeah,
tail
which is
end.
why I love Rizzuto as an analyst. I wouldn't put him up there with the greats, but I get it why one would if you're a big Yankees fan.
Rizzuto is a good local guy.
Yeah,
but
I
he's
got
never
you.
gonna
National.
be that
Yeah.
national guy.
Yeah.
He's a local guy, and there's some guys like that who have created such a following with their local team, but they never branch out to nationwide. But they're so beloved locally, and I think Rizzuto fits into that category.
Football. Dream team.
Well,
Summerall Madden. You guys are both
Summerall
Summerall Madden.
Yeah, I would go there.
Even though Michaels not far behind, Michaels is great. I really like Michaels.
I would like to see Michaels and Romo. I think that would be a
good one.
really good dream team.
Yeah.
there.
And for baseball, I'm going to fit Costas in there. I think Costas should be on it.
Just put him in there?
because of how much he knows about the sport of baseball and
Just
how
the
good
passion, yeah.
and how good he is at what he does. You got to have Costas in there.
All right, hockey.
Emmerich, and I'll say Don
Don
Cherry.
Cherry?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Emmerich
say
and
Emmerich
Cherry.
and Cherry.
I'm with you on that all the way.
I don't know.
Match.
I personally love Eddie Olczyk because of the story, what he's
yeah.
had to persevere through recently.
Oh, yeah,
And
for
yeah, it's what was it, brain cancer, right?
Oh, wow.
And he's
Brain
actually
cancer,
doing
yeah.
pretty well now.
Pretty well.
Oh, good for
Yeah,
him.
and I also love him in the horse racing world as well. He's a big timer there.
I didn't know that.
Oh, big time.
Oh, wow.
NBC Horse Racing, which is basically the big horse
Big
racing
horse race.
national syndicate there. And yeah, I just like Emmerich. He's really one of the only voices I know. I'm not the biggest hockey guy in the world.
Any man who can say he sachets his way through and make it sound tough somehow, I'm with. All right, basketball. Final before we move on to our challenge this week.
Basketball's tough because I like Bream a lot. He's
Bang!
great, yeah. But
Oh,
Marv
so good.
Albert's great too. I think that my color would be Van Gundy and Jackson though. I can't think of people better than them.
Better than them.
And I'll stay with those guys, and I'll go with Rafferty. I'm a huge Rafferty fan.
Mark
You know, he's
Jackson.
a big name in college basketball, by the way. A lot of people don't know the big college basketball and analysts. So, yeah.
Marv Albert and Gus Johnson.
There
I
you
think
go.
that would be a
Well,
really good team.
You gotta, who's the color commentator?
I think Gus could do it.
You think Gus could
I
do it?
think
You have
Gus
faith
could
in
be
Gus.
that guy.
Gus could do it.
Because he's such a personality. He
is.
understands the big moments. So, sometimes that dynamic could work. And I like putting them together and seeing what happens.
So I'll go Rafferty and Mark Jackson.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll just
Probably happened, by the way.
I'll go Breen, Jackson, and Van Gundy. I think that's the best team right now.
No, they
and
did
I think
the right
that's the
thing with
best
that.
team
I agree with you.
overall.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, and then, by the way, that's why they are. The cream rises to
I
the
know.
top.
But
yeah.
I'm saying you're saying the dream team of taking past guys too. I'm going to stick with
Oh,
them.
gotcha. Okay.
I'm going to stick with
Gotcha.
them.
Yeah.
We want to know what your best booths are, greatest commentators, you name it. Tweet us. I believe it's at Go Bridgeside. Go Bridgeside, all that fun stuff. Let's get down to our challenge. Today, it's, you guys have your buzzers here. Fancy. Can we give it a little buzz? All right, there we go. So we know it works. We got to make sure it's fair and impartial. Are you going to hold it up?
Here, should we hold them? What do you think?
No, keep him.
Okay, this is my first challenge.
It's your first challenge
My
ever?
first challenge.
I'm
This is
1-1 in
what
challenges, and I'm very heated about that. But this week's challenge is going to be all about the calls. So we're going to put some calls up on the screen, famous calls of all
Slam through the
time,
table.
and you guys are going to have to identify what they are. All right, let's get underway. Let's see our first call.
So we're just naming the guy.
No sound.
That may have been. Who knows
That's
what will
Costas.
unfold in the next several
All right, Costas. I'm sorry, I'll say the name. It's Don.
Oh, I got it first there.
Donnie's won.
That wasn't even close, you know.
We also all we knew that one.
Yeah, I know. That's why I like the
He
point.
played it like on a loop before the show.
I want the point, though.
You're breaking the fourth wall.
Well, I just lost it. So
I'm
I'm a
stealing
sore loser
challenges
already.
as much as I
No,
can.
I'm kidding.
All right, let's go to our next one. So it's 1-0 Donnie.
Sitting on it.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe
All
it?
right,
Oh, that's
Donnie.
Oh, gee, Michaels. Right?
Al Michaels, the Miracle on Ice.
I was saying because Herb Brooks was the coach.
I know,
was
but
thinking
you
the same
hit
thing.
it first. I knew it was Michaels, but you hit it first. You were
Which,
quicker.
by the way, may be the
greatest
single
call.
greatest
Well,
call.
Well, I know it was Michaels, but
Ever.
for some reason this was last week.
know,
Same
yeah.
thing happened. I kept thinking Herb Brooks. He's the coach.
That is one of the greatest calls of all
All
time.
right. You know what? To make this a little bit more fair, so we
No,
can
it's
see,
fair.
keep the buzzers in your hand. We want to be able to see those buzzers.
Okay.
Hold them up.
It's very fair. He's got me.
Hold
These
them up.
first two ones, yeah.
it's 2-0. It's 2-0, Donnie.
Can I just keep it here?
All right. Let's go to the next call.
Little roller up along first.
All right.
Behind the
Scully.
back.
Vince Scully is correct. What an amazing moment this was.
I was watching the clip for some reason. So
I was too.
And the Mets win behind the bag. It gets by Buckner.
yeah, he did the World Series every year. That's
Yeah.
it.
So 2-1. Donnie's still in the lead. We still got a bunch to go. What a great moment that was.
Cheaply.
I like how we snuck in a nice Mets
Mets
moment
clip,
there.
okay.
Yeah, I got to sneak it in. All
gonna
right,
get
let's go to the
Yankees
next one.
Jim Ross.
Get in here. Because I mentioned it.
We both knew that. Where's the mind these clips from?
I mentioned it throughout the show. I had to clip it. Come on, that was a premonition.
All right. Of course, that's good old JR.
As God is my witness.
I'm saying Jerry the King Lawler. I heard him more in that clip.
As
I
God
want
is
to point.
As God is my witness, he's broken in half. That's a fantastic call.
All right, that's 2-2. It's all tied up. It's all tied up. Yeah, one of the greatest calls of all time. All right, let's see the next one.
Funny.
The dice. He's got something. He's got something. He's got it. He's got it.
20, 10,
He's got it.
end zone, touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
It doesn't sound like him, but I'm going Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson
It's-
is
no.
incorrect.
No, I know it's not.
No idea.
No,
No,
he doesn't know it either. That's it.
But he took a chance on it.
Yeah.
I like
No,
the
it didn't
moxie.
sound like him at all, though. I knew I was wrong.
Well, you buzzed in. I like the
have
moxie.
no idea. I don't even have a guy to
No
get.
idea. That's from the Music City Miracle,
know.
Mike Keith.
Yeah, I wouldn't
There
have
was
gotten
no
that.
chance.
Yeah.
I was
Got that?
getting that. Okay.
I have no idea who Mike Keith is, I'll be honest.
Is he the Tennessee
What we do
local
now?
guy?
Probably. Probably.
That's fair.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Remember, the score is still 2-2.
That
All
was a
tied.
Wait a minute. Why was even that? Never mind. Go ahead.
Ortiz into deep right
That's-
field.
oh.
Back is
All right, that's Phil.
Funk.
I'm sorry, we're going to need you to be more
Joe
specific.
Buck.
Joe Buck is correct.
Whoever made these videos, go screw yourselves. You
wasn't-
showed me a Met happy one, and then you showed me the Ortiz.
3-2, right?
Yeah, it's Joe Buck.
It's 3-2, and we got two more, so the game's still
Buck.
wide open. All right, let's go to the next one.
Felt like that was
Gibson
touchdown.
swings and a fly ball to deep right
Donnie.
field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable. A home run
Oh,
for
I
Gibson.
go ahead and
And
tell
the
me.
Dodgers have
Oh,
won
you
the
have
game.
the buzz. Go ahead.
5-4.
Yes, please.
Jack Buck.
Jack Buck
It's
is
Jack Buck.
correct.
I don't believe what I just saw. The only thing that
It's a great call.
It's a great call, great moment.
baseball.
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
great moment in baseball.
So while
Boy,
it's
I can say.
4-2,
This last one's worth 3
and
points.
Phil has locked it up
No, sure. Let's hear the last
for the
one
no
anyway.
prize, let's just
No,
go to
this
the
last
last
one's
one.
worth 3 points.
Last one's worth 3.
No, it's certainly not. Right?
All right, let's go to the last one.
Angie Dundee, Ali's trainer, right next to me is
Let's
saying it.
just
You may
Cosell.
hear him.
That is in fact Howard
We
Cosell.
didn't mention him at all. This whole
We
game.
mentioned him briefly, but very quickly. Howard Cosell's right. It's down goes Frazier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Down goes Frazier. All right. Well, sports broadcasters are a very important part of not only sports, but Americana, period. As a sports broadcaster myself, and being able to sit with these gentlemen, it's been my honor to join you guys tonight and be able to do sports broadcasting. Thanks for joining me.
yeah.
Yeah, see, I say nice things. I get
Thanks
handshakes.
for hosting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird in this chair. It's a little bouncy.
Yeah, it's I kept it. I kept it warm for you. You got the jacket.
This is your seat. I like it over there.
Okay.
I like it over there. Again, thanks for tuning in to Bridgeside Sports Brooklyn versus the new branding, right? New branding.
Yeah, you got it.
Make sure I get it all right. I write it on the sheet. I don't have a sheet. It's just
He's
my
got it.
Don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for another episode of Bridgeside Live, right here.
Always.
Same time, same channel. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, we'll get the debate next week.
Yeah. Keep the debate going.
We're going to keep the debate going.
It's your 2020 campaign.